Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're swapping out that clunky old manual desk calculator for the absolute magic of Excel formulas. If you've ever felt completely bogged down crunching numbers row by row, well, this is going to completely change how you work. Let's dive right in.
So here's our quick roadmap for today. First, the golden rule. Second, meet your math operators. Third, the magic of cell references. Fourth, real-world formula practice. And finally, we'll wrap up with troubleshooting and an assessment.
All right, part one, the golden rule. Before we even start typing, we need to define what we're actually doing here. An Excel formula is basically just a command that calculates values automatically. You can kind of think of a formula as this invisible engine running quietly behind your spreadsheet. You won't always see the engine itself when you're looking at your finished document, but you will definitely see its incredible power and the results it generates. And that brings us to the golden rule. Every single formula in Excel, whether you're just adding two simple numbers together or running some massive complex financial model, absolutely must begin with an equal sign. If you don't type that equal sign first, Excel just thinks you're typing regular text. It's literally the trigger. It's your way of signaling to the software, hey, it's time to process a calculation. Moving on to part two, meet your math operators. So how do we translate the math we all learned in school into computer language? Well, addition and subtraction are pretty standard with the familiar plus and minus signs, but you'll want to look closely at multiplication and division. On a keyboard, we actually don't use an X for multiplication. We use the asterisk symbol. And for division, you can forget that traditional symbol with the dots. We use the /. Finally, if you need to calculate a power, like taking a number to the power of 2, you're going to use the caret symbol, which looks like a little upward pointing arrow.
Now, you've got to remember that Excel doesn't just read a formula from left to right like we read a book. It follows a very strict order of operations, just like standard math. First, it calculates anything inside parentheses. Second, it handles powers. Third, it knocks out multiplication and division. And lastly, it processes addition and subtraction. Excel is incredibly rigid about this, meaning we have to be super precise about how we write our commands.
And this right here shows exactly why that order matters. Let's look at the formula on the left, equals 3 plus 5 times 2. Because multiplication comes before addition, Excel multiplies 5 times 2 to get 10, and then adds 3. So your answer is 13. But what if we actually wanted to add the 3 and 5 first? Check out the formula on the right. By simply throwing parentheses around the 3 plus 5, we literally force Excel to do that addition first. 3 plus 5 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. So just by adding two little curved lines, we completely change the entire outcome of the calculation. All right, part 3, the magic of cell references.
Let's compare two different ways to do our math. On the left, we've got a fixed formula, equals 10 plus 2. And yes, Excel will correctly tell you the answer is 12. But here's the catch. That formula is completely static. If that 10 ever needs to change to a 15 later on, you have to go back into the formula and manually retype it. Who has time for that? On the right, we have a dynamic formula, equals A2 plus B2. So instead of typing raw numbers, we're giving Excel the coordinates of where the numbers live. We're essentially saying, hey, take whatever is inside cell A2 and add it to whatever is inside cell B2.
Let's see how this works in practice. Let's assume cell C3 holds the number 10, and C4 holds a 2. By dropping our operators between those coordinates, Excel effortlessly calculates the results. Whether we're adding to get 12, multiplying to get 20, dividing to get 5, or calculating exponents to reach 100. And here is where it gets incredibly powerful. Say we realize C3 should actually be 20 instead of 10. We don't have to rewrite a single formula. The very moment we update that cell, every single linked formula instantly recalculates to reflect the new totals. Our addition jumps to 22, multiplication to 40, and power to 400. It's just seamless automation.
Part 4, real-world formula practice.
Let's put this into a real-world scenario. Say you're managing a small office inventory. If you have 5 notebooks at $8 each, you just multiply the quantity cell by the unit price cell to get $40. You can then just copy that formula straight down the column, and Excel dynamically handles the rest of the inventory, automatically calculating the correct totals for your pen sets and desk lamps. It is a huge time saver. Here's another super common scenario, tracking a monthly budget. In this case, we want to know the exact difference between what we plan to spend and what we actually spent. So we set up our formula to subtract the actual amount from the planned amount. For food, we planned $300, but we spent $280. Our formula correctly calculates a positive difference of $20. Now I'll put it to you. looking at the results from that budget table, which items went over budget and which stayed under budget. Well, if you notice that the negative $25 differences mean transport and entertainment went over budget, you hit the nail on the head. Food, with its positive $20 difference, successfully stayed under budget, and internet came out exactly even at 0.
Part 5. Troubleshooting common mistakes.
Look, errors happen, but these are the classic traps beginners fall into most often. First up, missing that golden rule equal sign. If you just type A1 plus B1 without an equal sign, Excel will literally just display the text A1 plus B1. Second, using an X for multiplication or that old school dots and line symbol for division. Remember, you've got to use the asterisk and the forward slash. Third, simply clicking the wrong cell, like maybe adding B10 instead of B1. Always double check your coordinates. And finally, dividing by 0. It's a mathematical impossibility, and it's going to trigger a pretty ugly error code. If you see that pop up, just make sure your denominator is a non-zero value.
All right, time for a quick assessment. I've got a 2-part question for you based on what we just covered. First, what specific symbol absolutely must begin every single Excel formula? And second, keeping in mind that strict order of operations we talked about, what's the answer to the formula shown here? Equals, open parentheses, 4 plus 2, close parentheses, times 3. I'll give you a quick second to work that out in your head.
All right, let's see how you did. The answer to the first question is, of course, the equal sign. Honestly, never forget it. And the answer to the math problem? That'd be 18. Because we use those parentheses, Excel adds the 4 and the 2 first to get 6, and then multiplies that 6 by 3 to reach 18. Let's do one more to test your syntax with cell references. How exactly would you write a formula that adds whatever is inside cell B4 to whatever is inside cell C4? And as a quick follow-up, how would you write a formula that multiplies a quantity sitting over in cell D5 by a price sitting down in cell E5? If you pictured equals B4 plus C4 for that first one, you absolutely nailed it. And for the multiplication, it would be equals D5 asterisk E5. Getting comfortable combining those cell coordinates with the correct mathematical operators is really the absolute foundation of everything you will ever build in a spreadsheet. We've seen how automatic recalculation does all the heavy lifting for simple addition and multiplication today. But I want you to think about this. If basic cell references can save you this much time on just a handful of rows, what happens when you need to instantly analyze thousands of rows of data using incredibly powerful built-in functions? Well, we'll leave you to ponder that for now. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer today.